All right, what is up, guys? Just wanted to do a quick video on the new Holmes Hobbies Crawlmaster Mini ESC. I've got it installed here in my TRX4 Sport based LCG crawler. Let's pop the top off and take a look at it really quick. So there's the ESC. It's really small. Right now, it's just a brushless, non-censored ESC, so you don't have to worry about your ABC wiring order. If you wire it up and the motor spins backwards, you just swap any two wires and it'll spin the other direction. This is all really interesting to me because this ESC is about the size of a FPV drone ESC when we used to use individual ESCs per motor. And, you know, I'm using a Holmes Hobby V2 snub nose 1800 kV revolver motor, which is also like an FPV drone ESC. Let me show you if I can show you what I mean. Okay, so this is one of my really old FPV drones. And, well, this is not a great example because the ESCs are small, but you can see it's very similar. It's just got pads for the motor wires, power pads, and then your signal pads. In the FPV drone case, that goes to a flight controller, but on this it's just going to the receiver. And then you can see that our FPV drone motors, they're basically the same as an outrunner motor. So yeah, this style of ESC and motor, they're very familiar to me, so I figured I would just make a video on wiring it up, and then I'm gonna take it out to my little test spot down the street and kind of show you guys how it crawls, because it's sick. Again, with the ABC wires, orientation doesn't matter at all. And when you get it, if you don't necessarily want to use like the harness, the squib that Holmes Hobbies includes, all you need is your power wires for your LiPo, and you need a Beck wired up to power your receiver. I was already using a Castle Beck for my servo, and so I just wired those to the power pads, and that's all you need. It took about 5 minutes. It was super simple. There's no, as of yet, there's no programming, there's no calibration. You just wire it up, make sure it goes forward when you pull the trigger, and you're good to go. This was initially promoted as a silencer ESC because the Outrunners have this really loud squeal. And some people hate it. It didn't bother me that. I kind of liked it because it gave you like audible feedback for what the motor was doing. I mean, it's cool that it's silent, but what made me order this is when I read through the specs, they list it as like sinewave startup, and then there's like another bullet point where they call it like RPM lock. So think of it like the Hobbywing Fusion FOC. You pull the trigger to where the motor starts spinning, and it'll just keep going based on your trigger input. It won't stall, it won't slow down. It's kind of a cheater feature, but then again, I'm running a cheater rig, so that's whatever, it's no big deal. Let me get a LiPo and I'll show you guys what I mean. Okay, so got power, you can kind of see like the little red light. So if I just pull the throttle to where the truck starts rolling and just hold it, that's probably about, I think it's like the value is like 24 in the throttle. So I'll just hold it, and when it hits the 2x4, the speed control will compensate based on your throttle input and just keep spinning the motor. Oh. Okay. So yeah, so that's pretty cool. It's totally a cheater feature because it just takes a lot of the work out of slow crawling, and trying to make sure that you're not losing traction, bouncing on the rocks or whatever. Again, it doesn't really bother me because the way that I have this rig built and set up is just for ultimate performance, without running like 2.2 tires or something like that. I know you guys are going to ask, the chassis is a prototype by a local company here in Boise, Idaho called Negative G RC. Negative G for obvious reasons, because the whole idea is to fight gravity when you're crawling, right? And it does that very well on either side. I mean, it's extremely low CG, very low weight. It side hills like a monster. I'm not going to go into great detail about it because I don't know how much detail they want to go into yet, but you'll see. We're going to get on the rocks. It's a beast. So yeah, I'm going to load up, drive out to the rocks, set up the camera, and we'll just kind of get some footage of how the new Crawlmaster Mini ESC works. All right. It's funny because all you can hear is the chassis creaking. But so I like to do a lot of side hilling, and when you have this kind of ability to slow crawl, it just makes it so much easier. All right, guys, so that was just some running footage of the Crawlmaster Mini ESC with a Holmes Hobby V2 snub nose revolver, 1800 kV on 3-cell. So I guess to wrap it up, there's a couple reasons you would get this. One is to quiet down the outrunner motor if that's like an issue for you. The other reason is that sine wave startup RPM lock. Somebody's probably going to say, well, why don't you just get the Hobbywing Fusion? And the big difference between this and the Hobbywing Fusion is probably over about 100 grams. So when you're talking low CG, belly dragger, high performance crawlers, not scale trucks or competition crawling, but if you just go out to have fun and just want your rig to basically crawl really well, you want it to be as lightweight as possible. And the Fusion is like 200 grams, but then if you look at the snub nose revolver, that's I think 70 grams, and then the ESC board is 6 grams. So once you add in the wire, you're talking 85, 90 grams for the combo. I mean, and that's all sprung weight, and so it just lowers your CG, right? If you guys have any questions or complaints, or if I left anything out, leave it in the comments. Oh, and one more thing, in case people are going to ask about these orange wires. When I move this motor from my Element to this truck, the motors weren't long enough. So what I do, instead of splicing or using like bullet connectors, is I just cut the wires at the base of the motor and solder on new ones so it looks factory. It's probably a little bit more of a difficult job because you have to cut through a lot of layers of shrink wrap. But that's why the wire is orange. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.